Hi, I'm Kimberly Butler. Welcome to my vlog. Part 2, Discrimination and the Media. We speak to Carol Jenkins, Juan Williams, and John Ziegler about Sarah Palin and the election.
The economy is falling apart. We are in a desperate stage, and we are discussing such trivia. I'm not sure I know what being sexist is. If you say anything about a woman, it's sexist. Women, you know, we are a little different from men.
I have to say that it was a real uphill battle to make people get that there was sexism in the coverage of Hillary Clinton. I have like a couple advisors who are longer in the tooth than I and have been around the block a bit more in this industry, and I would say, but what about this and what about this and don't you think this? And they'd be like, you have to understand, like, we've all been around Hillary Clinton for so many years, like, we just don't like her. Is basically what I got. And I said, like, it's fine to, bring that experience to bear on your coverage. Don't say things like, she reminds me of a first wife outside probate court.
When Barack Obama speaks, men hear, take off for the future. And when Hillary Clinton speaks, men hear, take out the garbage.
Don't say, she only got to where she was because her husband messed around. Don't compare her laugh on the front page of the New York Times to a cackle. And this is a woman who's not very popular and who's being characterized as a witch. Any woman is going to whip her head around and say, what? I had a friend who warned me. He said, like, you better, you should watch out. Your career is going to suffer from this position.
I think Hillary Clinton and Sarah Palin were treated differently. Hillary was blasted because she was a, quote, guy. She was too much like the men. Sarah Palin was blasted because she was too much of a girl. So there you have, the two candidates for vastly different reasons, but really their offense was that they were stepping out of the traditional female model of what is expected. They had the audacity to step up to run for president and for vice president. You can argue all you want about the political allegiances, whether or not you care for Sarah Palin or for Hillary Clinton, but at the core of the sexism in the media, it was purely because they were women.
In general terms, I think the greatest media malpractice was that the American public was given an impression of Sarah Palin that is demonstratively false, almost 180 degrees away from the truth. And I think that's a real travesty. I think it's one of the biggest travesties, if not the biggest, with regard to character assassination that we've ever seen in modern American media. MSNBC mocked me for making that statement, which I thought was rather ironic since they're a large part of the reason why I think what I said is true. Obviously, something big took place in the mainstream media where they decided to seek and destroy this candidacy of Sarah Palin because of what she represents in a conservative movement.
With Sarah Palin, what I think happened was, first of all, two things. That there was virtually nothing to cover about her other than the Sarah Palin story, the Sarah Palin figure. She didn't do Sunday shows. She wasn't talking to the press. The speech that came before was basically an offensive against the media based on nothing. Someone who had not submitted herself to the media, which is the arm of the people, blasting the media for their coverage. Like, there's something really wrong with that.
A lot of women, because of what happened to Hillary Clinton and what's happened to Sarah Palin, who say, gee, I'd love to run for public office, but not me, because I do not want to be excoriated the way they were. We always say here at the Women's Media Center, we're happy to lead the parade, but we can't do it by ourselves. And so it requires the consumers, the viewers, the people who buy the theater tickets and who turn on the television sets to join in this protest. We've all been lulled, I think, for several years into thinking that we had no right to challenge anything. But now we are in a position where we must.
Earlier in my career, I think there were moments when editors made decisions about what they sent me to cover, what they wanted me to do, again, based on race. They never sent me to the suburbs. I covered City Hall. I covered big city schools. I covered city council meetings as a young reporter. When I went to the White House to cover Ronald Reagan, it was like a shock to people. Oh my God, the Washington Post White House correspondent's a black guy. And he was a skinny black guy with a big afro at the time. You must hold to a certain position if you are going to be really black.
It is racial to real black people.
And if you're not holding to that opinion, then you're not really black. And if you have any criticism of President Obama, then you must be anti-black. All these kind of things occur. And you think to yourself, well, wait a minute. My job is not here to somehow define blackness. My job is here to tell you the news, what's going on. They want to put you in the box so that they can, in some ways, I think, marginalize you, choose when to listen and choose when not to listen. Sometimes I challenge the black orthodoxy on race, and that angers some of the black audience. Or it might anger some of the liberal audience, or it might anger some of the conservative audience. Anybody who thinks, well, wait a second, I own him, and I own what he says, as opposed to saying, you know what, he's not supposed to belong to any of us. He's supposed to be a good journalist.
Being blonde, being young, being blue-eyed, then was the ticket into anchoring, and I think to some extent still is. In those days, you absolutely had to be blonde, and even if you were not born blonde, you would see women who wanted to move up into the anchor slots going blonder and blonder by the week. It was true of every single network in the old days. And I think still to this day, being young and being a certain size and being beautiful is a great advantage to making your way up old school network news. The new media doesn't look at the size dress you wear, or the color of your hair. You sit at your computer and you produce your material, and you have a better shot at being valued for your work as opposed to being valued for the way you look.
Thanks for watching. This is Kimberly Butler. Send us your comments. We'd love to hear from you, the viewer. And that's the way it is. Take care. Bye.